We got there.
I'm investing.
Investing? Investing in what?
You know, in the stock market. I'm a trader.
But how do you know what to invest in?
I do extensive research on Reddit. I'm in all the stocks that are pumping right now. AMC, Palantir, Tesla. I'm up 60% this week.
That sounds pretty good. Maybe I should get into that.
Whoa, 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 put that phone down. Don't listen to him. It's not that simple. Jimmy, if you want to learn how to invest and you want to do it properly, listen up. Now, unlike your mate here, I actually manage money professionally. It's my job. And when I'm not doing that, I'm here sitting in my kitchen teaching people like you how to invest. But if you're really interested in learning how to invest and you want to know how to do it properly, then you're in the right place. Because in this video, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know to go from being an absolute beginner to investing your first £1,000. Now, as you can imagine, that's quite a lot of material to cover in a 15-minute video, but this is really going to act as a checklist of everything that you need to know and understand so that you can get started. But throughout this video, I'm going to be linking you to other videos and resources so that you can get this additional information that you need to fill in the gaps. There will be some things in here that you have heard before, but the reason why you need to watch this is because there will definitely be things that you have not considered. And it's the things that you haven't considered that are going to trip you up and ultimately result in you losing money.
All right, I'm listening.
So, to be a successful investor, you have to get the foundations right. And most of that work takes place before you've even downloaded an app or looked at a company. Because if you've got some spare cash, there's actually a lot of other things that you should be doing with it before you think about investing. The first of which is paying off any high interest debt. If you've got a credit card balance that's charging you 20% a year or a car loan that's charging you 6%, you will almost always be better off paying down that loan than investing. If you think about it, paying down a 6% loan is like getting a guaranteed 6% return. But instead of receiving that money, you're just avoiding having to pay it to someone else. And a guaranteed 6% annual return is much, much, much better than risking your money in the stock market for a potential 7 to 8% annual return. I see this problem all the time. Quite often when I start working with clients, they'll have big investment portfolios, but at the same time have really expensive car finance. And I almost always advise them to pay that off straight away.
But what counts as high interest debt?
Well, as the interest rate gets lower, the decision becomes a lot less clear cut. But generally, I would say you should be paying off anything that's above 3% in the UK or 4% if you're in the US. Investing in the stock market is a long-term game and you need to be prepared to keep your money invested for at least 5 years. You can be very confident that in 10 or 20 years time, the stock market is going to be a lot higher than it is today. But in the short term, it's very hard to predict and it could be up 20% one year and down 40% the next. So you need to give it at least 5 years to be confident of seeing results. Market crashes will happen and you will lose money, but only on paper. If you invest in the way that I'm about to show you, then the only way you can lose is if you sell when the markets are down. And the only reason why people do that are 1, because they panic and they sell, and 2, because they need the money to fund an unexpected expense. Controlling your emotions is the hardest part of investing, and this is something that you can only learn over time. But managing your cash flow is relatively straightforward. So before you start investing, you need to make sure that you've got a cash buffer or an emergency fund that you can use to pay for these unexpected expenses so that you can be confident that you can leave the rest of your money invested for a long time, no matter what the markets do. This is typically between 3 and 9 months worth of expenditure, but the exact amount is going to depend on the job you do, whether you've got family members that you need to support, and just your overall attitude to risk. If you're quite a conservative person, then you might want to build up an even bigger buffer than this. But if you are comfortable taking a lot of risk, then you could even run with no emergency fund at all, and you could try and use credit cards to manage this cash flow. But obviously that's risky.
So I've paid off my debt and I'm comfortable with my emergency fund. Can I now start investing?
No, not yet. The next thing you've got to do is check whether you've got the right protection. No, not that type of protection. I'm talking about insurance. Now, this is more important if you've got family or other people that rely on your income. If you fall ill and you're unable to work or you die, then this is clearly going to put your family in a very tough financial position. And unfortunately, that £10,000 that you've squirreled away for retirement isn't going to get them very far. So before you start investing, you need to make sure that you've got the right insurance in place should the worst happen. This typically comes in two forms, the first of which is income protection that pays you out a monthly benefit if you're unable to work. The second is life insurance that pays out a lump sum to your family if you die. If you're employed, it's likely that you've already got some sort of cover in both of these areas. But because everybody just gets assigned the same default cover, it's likely not correct. As an example, if you've got young children and you're the main breadwinner of your family and you've got a large mortgage, then clearly you need a lot more cover than somebody that is closer to retirement and their kids have left home. But the good thing is that this type of cover is relatively cheap and you can top up your existing benefits for as little as £50 a month. I know that it seems that the chances of these things happening to you are very, very low, but I cannot stress this enough. This is the most important part of financial planning, and it is devastating when people get this wrong. So I've included lots of links down in the description so you can explore this and work out what the correct level of cover is for you.
Okay, I think I'm okay on the protection front. So can I now start investing?
Yes, all right then. But what app are you going to use?
I don't know, they're all the same, right?
No, they're actually all very different.
Well, which one's the best?
Well, that depends on what type of investing you're going to be doing.
I don't have a clue.
Don't worry, I've already done a whole video that talks about all these different apps so that you can identify which one is the best for you. So just give it a watch now.
Okay. Good video. Like, subscribe. Okay, so I've chosen an app now and it's now asking me what type of account I want to open.
So this is the next step. Most apps will give you the option of opening 3 different accounts: a general investment account, an ISA, and a SIP, also known as a self-invested personal pension. You should know what each of these are and how they can benefit you before you start investing, and I've included lots of links down in the description to help you understand that. But at a high level, a general investment account is a standard account that doesn't come with any tax advantages. So when you're investing, if you receive any dividends from a company or you sell something at a gain, you may be liable to pay tax. An ISA works in exactly the same way as a general investment account in that you open it, you put your money in, and once it's in, you can choose what you want to invest in. But the big advantage of these is that you do not have to pay tax on any income that you receive from dividends or any gains. A SIP is a type of pension. It comes with exactly the same benefits of an ISA, but it has the added benefit that the government will top up your contributions by 25%. Pension accounts give you the best tax advantages, but the downside is that you can only access them once you're 55 years old.
So which is best for me?
Well, if you're young, and I can tell that you are by your full head of hair, then the flexibility that comes with an ISA and its tax advantages usually makes it the best option. But if you're saving for a house deposit, then you may also want to check out a LISA or a lifetime ISA.
Okay, so I've opened an ISA and it's now asking me what I want to invest in, but there are so many options. It's pretty confusing. Tesla is pumping right now. Woo, sounds like I need to get some of that.
No, not that. I know it can be tempting to want to invest in individual companies that you hear about online or that your friends are talking about. But when you're starting out, it's best to stay away from these and instead invest in funds. When you invest in a fund, you're investing in a ready-made basket of hundreds, if not thousands, of companies. Your money is automatically spread between them, so if one of these companies does badly, then it's really not going to affect you much. There are 2 main types of fund that you need to know about. The first of which is active funds, where you are giving your money to a skilled investment manager who is going to actively select which stocks they think is going to outperform. Or there's passive funds, also known as tracker funds, which will own every single company in a particular section of the market, like the S&P 500, which is the 500 largest companies in America. Alternatively, you can buy global trackers that will give you exposure to companies all over the world in different sectors and from different countries. I've done a whole video that talks about these funds and why you should be using them in more detail, so please check it out here.
Okay, but how do I know which funds I should be investing in?
Now, this is a massive topic and you can make it as complex or simple as you like, but my advice is to keep it simple. Whatever you choose, there are 2 main things that you need to get right. The first is diversity and the second is risk. Diversity just means that you're making sure that you don't have all your eggs in one basket and you are invested in companies from different sectors from all over the world. But don't make the mistake of thinking that simply adding more funds is going to give you more diversity, because quite often you're just adding crossover and you're creating duplications. The simplest option would be to just invest in one single tracker fund that would give you access to companies from all over the world and just leave it at that. There is really no need to make it more complicated. Adding more funds to this would give you more exposure to certain areas, But then do you have a view on which areas you think are going to do better than others?
China?
Okay, I'll take that as a no. The final thing that you need to understand is risk. If you invest as I have suggested, then the only way you can lose money is if you sell when the market is down. And as we've already covered, the only times that ever happens is if you suddenly need the money to pay for an expense, but that's why you've already set up an emergency fund. And the second reason is because you panic. If you invest in a global tracker fund, there will be times during market crashes when you are down 30 or 40%. Now, if you think that this is too much for you and you're likely to panic and sell, then you can dial down the heat a bit by investing in other asset classes like bonds, which will produce a lower but more consistent return, and they're also likely to do well when stocks are doing badly. So we might expect a 50-50 portfolio that's made up of 50% stocks and 50% bonds to only fall about 20% during a market crash. To do this, you could go out and buy a global bond fund and then just have a very simple 2-fund portfolio. But the downside to that is that there's a lot of funds out there and it can be very hard to pick exactly which one you should be going for. The other option is to just find a fund that does this all for you, like the BlackRock Consensus or the Vanguard Life Strategy funds that are ready-made portfolios made up of different percentages of stocks and bonds. And all you need to do is pick your level of risk and away you go. I have done a whole video on these funds, so please check it out because this is by far the simplest way to invest and manage risk at the same time.
Okay, so now I've paid off my high interest debt. I've got an emergency fund that I'm comfortable with. I now know what you mean by protection, and I've now opened an ISA with Fidelity. And based on my attitude to risk, I think I'm going to invest £1,000 in a Life Strategy 80% equity fund. So is that it?
Yep, that's it. All you need to do now is set up a direct debit and pay him whatever you can afford to each month.
Okay, and I don't have to come back and make any changes or sell bits if it's gone up?
No, not unless you need the money, but as you've already told me, you're investing for the long term. Yes, the value will go up and down, but the fund will do the work for you. So it's better just leave it alone and not touch it at all.
Okay, well, this sounds pretty easy. Why don't more people do this?
Well, if you like and share this video, then maybe more people will.
Okay, I'll do that.